I've dabbled in horror movies before, but Halloween was one of those movie series that always sort of just evaded me. Didn't grow up watching them, never really wanted to, until a few months ago where I decided that it was time. And before I knew it, I had worked my way through all 13 of the Halloween movies. And to put it lightly, some of them are the worst movies that I have seen in quite a while. On the whole, the series is pretty solid. I see why it's lasted for 40 years, why it's gotten 13 movies, 3 reboots, 4 timelines. It's a mess. There's a lot. There's a lot going on. So as I go through the movies, I wanted to rank them. No tier list or anything. I think just, best to worst as we go. 1 through 13. I feel like that's the right way to do it. But yeah, with all the preamble out of the way, I feel like we should just jump right into it, starting with Halloween 1. Going into this movie, I didn't really know what to expect. I had never really heard anyone talk about the movies. It's more just the impact of the movies, growing up seeing Halloween or Michael Myers masks and the butcher knife and all that. But I never knew anything about the movie. I didn't even know that this was Jamie Lee Curtis's first movie, which was pretty interesting. So yeah, let's talk about it. So we start off with a POV shot of the Myers house, the iconic Myers house. And the camera slowly starts to walk as we're following the perspective of someone stalking around, looking in the windows, spying on this teenage girl and her boyfriend. And the girlfriend is supposed to be babysitting her baby brother, but for some reason she let him just stand on the other side of the road for however long and then just creep outside the house. She's not a very good babysitter. And then the boyfriend suggests that they go upstairs to get a little more serious. The stalker slowly goes around the back door, goes in, grabs a knife, and immediately I'm like, wow, they are jumping right into this. He creeps through the house a little bit, and I shit you not, 30 seconds later, after the boyfriend said, let's go upstairs, he's already done and leaving. Literally not even a minute had passed, and he's already like, all right, I did my thing, bye, and he just leaves, which is kind of funny. And so then the stalker goes upstairs, picks up a mask that the boyfriend was jokingly wearing a minute ago, he puts it on, and he just starts stabbing. For the first kill of the movie, this is the original slasher film as far as I know, but this first kill did not look very good. It's really weird. The camera is pointed at the hand doing the stabbing motion, and then it just cuts to his sister dead on the ground, and it was just really weird. I've heard that this movie was filmed in 2 weeks or something like that. They did not have a big budget. They didn't have a lot of time. So they worked with what they had. But that first kill really did not look so good. Then the little kid goes outside and he takes off the mask and he drops the knife, and his parents come home just in time. And they're like, Michael, what's going on here? And then we just cut 15 years in the future. He's in a mental institution. A doctor and a nurse, we come to learn, is Dr. Loomis, who is a mainstay for the first 6 movies. And he's driving with a nurse, and the girl is like, you never want this guy to escape, do you? Why are we taking him out? Why are we transferring him? And he's like, I have my reasons. And they show up to the institution, and it's rainy and it's dark. I don't know why you would coordinate a patient transfer at 2 a.m. during a thunderstorm. But, Dr. Loomis has his reasons. And then they pull up to the front gate, and all the mental patients are just wandering around in the rain, and they never explain why, which thinking back is really weird. They just never explain why. They're all just out of their cage, Dr. Loomis decides to get out of the car for some reason. I think he was trying to open the front gate or something, and he's like, stay here, to the nurse. And that's the first instance where, the stereotype of you're watching a horror movie and you're just you're thinking to yourself the whole time, why would you do that? I know the people in horror movies don't know they're in a horror movie, but why would you do that? In real life, that's not a good thing to do. They didn't have cell phones, he can't call in. I guess, what else are you gonna do? But he gets out of the car in this field of unstable murderers, and he's like, stay here. And then immediately someone climbs onto the car and busts the window. He slaps the window so hard that it shatters. We find out this is Michael Myers making his big escape. He scares the nurse so hard she gets out of the car. And then he gets in the car and drives away, which I don't mean to shit on this movie as much as I feel like I am already, but I'm pointing out a lot of the stuff that I thought was funny. Michael was, I think, 6 or 7 when he killed his sister, and then he was in an institution for 15 years. How the fuck does he know how to drive? I don't even know how to drive a stick. I don't know how Michael Myers would know how to drive a stick. So he drives off into the night, into the storm. Dr. Loomis and the nurse are just like, now what? What do we do? Then we cut to the main setting of pretty sure every Halloween movie, which is the fictional town of Haddonfield, Illinois. The perfect American town. Nothing could ever go wrong here. And then we see our main character leaving her house, Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, which was her first movie. Her dad is a real estate agent, and he gives her a key to like drop off at the Myers house, the murder house, because he's trying to sell the building. We're led to believe that in the last 15 years since the murder in that house, that like the house is decrepit, it's falling apart, like it's overgrown, it just looks like shit. And that guy's like, it's free real estate. And then as Laurie is walking to the house, we meet Tommy Doyle, I think is his name, who will end up being a very important character, in other movies. But in this, he's just kind of small boy. She goes up to the Myers house and he's like, no, you're not allowed to go up there. That's the boogeyman's house. That's the murder house. Don't go in there. Like there's demons in that house. And she's like, no, I think I'm okay. And she goes up and puts the key in the mail slot, drops the key inside the house. Apparently she doesn't put the key in the house. She puts it like under the doormat so that her dad can come back later. But there's someone inside the house, which, pretty sure that's Michael Myers. The music kicks in. And he's just standing there menacingly. And she fucks off with Tommy Doyle and walks down the street. And then the dude, who we don't know who it is, so it couldn't be Michael. The dude walks out of the house and just stands on the sidewalk, watches her walk away, and he's just standing there, just like he's just breathing so heavily. And at this moment, I was led to believe as a viewer that he came home, Laurie was the first person that he saw, and he was like, I'm killing you tonight. Like, he just immediately got hooked onto that idea. Maybe Laurie reminded him of his sister. I don't know. But that's kind of one of the cool things about Michael in this movie is that you don't know. He doesn't talk. You don't see his face. Nothing. He just kind of is. He's just a force of nature. He's just out there killing. And then a little bit later, we see Michael with his iconic music playing. Like the song, the fucking Halloween theme is so good. It's so iconic. I'm so glad that stayed a part of the horror zeitgeist for a long time. And he's like stalking Tommy Doyle at school. Like he's like walking around the fence, and like it's really effective how creepy this motherfucker is. He's just always hanging around. And then Michael gets into the car that he stole, and he just starts tailing this little kid, like really sizing him up for later, I guess. And then we cut to Laurie after school walking with some of her friends, who I think they all got stupid names. It's like Laurie, Linda, and Lottie, Lampoon. What's her name? This is so not important. Laurie, Linda, and Annie. And then there's another girl named Lindsay. I don't remember her. Pretty sure Laurie, Linda, and Annie are the main people, the main three people. And so they're just hanging out after class. And then Laurie sees Michael standing behind a bush. They just stare at each other for a little bit. And then he walks behind a bush. And then she goes up behind it and he's gone. Clearly he just kept walking. But it's still really creepy that he was just he was there and then he wasn't there. And that's a running theme in the movies too, is I'm pretty sure Michael can straight up fucking teleport. And then Laurie gets home and she goes into her bedroom and she looks out the window and she sees him standing there in the laundry. And this is something that I thought was really cool too. Camera cuts to Michael, cuts back to Laurie, cut back to Michael, and he's gone. Normally it would be camera cuts back to Laurie and she rubs her eyes and she's like, what am I seeing things? And then he would be gone. But in this one, he just disappears into thin air. From her perspective, he probably just popped out of existence, because I'm pretty sure that's what he does when he, whenever he needs to get anywhere. He's either walking very slowly and just lumbering along, or he just pops out of existence, which I don't know which one is scarier, honestly. And then we revisit Dr. Loomis, who has returned to Haddonfield because he's pretty sure that he knows that Michael is coming back here to either go home or kill some people. But, Loomis, oh yeah, I think I forgot to say, Loomis has been Michael's psychiatric doctor for like 15 years. His whole time that he's been in the institution, he's been working with Dr. Loomis. He's always saying, that kid is pure evil. That's a man with no soul. That's the devil. That is evil. But, he's my favorite patient. Really like the guy. And then he's working with a groundskeeper to find the grave of Michael's sister. I don't really remember why. And the groundskeeper is trying to tell Dr. Loomis about this like scary story of this guy who killed his family. And Dr. Loomis just cuts him off and he's like, where are we? Like, what are we doing here?
And then he went back into the house and he kissed his wife and his 2 children goodbye. And then he proceeded. Where are we?
Like, I'm pretty sure you needed this guy to figure out what's going on at the graveyard. And they go to the grave of Michael's sister, and the headstone is just gone, and the grave is dug up, and Loomis is like, damn it, I'm too late. Like, I know who did this. And then after that, we go back to Lori, and she's hanging out with one of her friends. They're driving around in this sweet fucking 70s car. They're smoking reefers. They're just being cool 70s kids. And the girl's dad is a cop, and they see the dad investigating a scene. And then Lori's friend is like, let's go talk to my dad real quick. I know we just smoked weed in the 70s, which is worse than anything else, but let's go talk to my cop dad. And then the dad is like, oh, someone broke into the hardware store and they stole a Halloween mask and a rope and some knives. And like, they're not more concerned about this. He's like, it was probably kids. You know those crazy kids, their Halloween pranks. I feel like it would be more normal to think someone's going to die tonight. Like, something bad is happening right now. And I don't think news has gotten to the town that Michael Myers has escaped from prison. And you'd figure that Dr. Loomis would have told the cops that, like, hey, this very dangerous man has escaped. We got to be on the lookout for him. But apparently not, because this cop is just like, oh yeah, someone stole ropes and knives. Probably a prank. And then we go back to Dr. Loomis, who is actually working with a cop. I don't know why he doesn't have more cops on call right now, having a manhunt for Michael Myers. But the 2 of them are walking around the Myers house. They find a dead dog. And they're like, oh no. Dr. Loomis gives a little speech about how, I worked with this kid for 15 years. He is evil. There's not a thought behind those eyes. There's no sign of emotion.
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
And the cop's just like, oh, spooky. All right, so now we're pretty much at the halfway point of the movie, and by today's standards, I feel like if you watch a horror movie from any year past 2010, they are driving it home that like some shit is going to go down. But here it's kind of feeding you pellets here and there of like, okay, something weird is going to happen, which I guess like, movies in the 70s, they were just built different. They just had a story to tell and then they would tell it. Directors now will constantly put in random jump scares for no reason and random just weird things to keep your attention, keep you hooked, get you like on the edge of your seat. But it's really not as effective as just having this realistic looking town, these realistic acting people in a horror movie without knowing that they're in a horror movie. The closest thing to a jump scare so far is when Michael's like silhouette comes into frame when he's inside the Myers house. But that's just good directing, I think. That's effective. And now we're at the halfway point, and it doesn't really feel like a lot has happened. It's mostly just kind of setting up, which was another thing I wasn't expecting because I haven't seen a whole lot of movies from, the 70s and 80s. So my brain is kind of taught to expect certain things from especially horror movies. But this movie is a slow burn. Even though it's 90 minutes, it's a tight 90 minutes, perfect length, no filler, no fluff. No one's died yet except, for Michael's sister and a random like cop or something. Yeah, earlier Michael killed a cop or a farmer or something and like stole their car. So that he could get to Haddonfield. Maybe his car ran out of gas and he was like, I don't have a credit card. I don't know how to get more gas in here. So he just kills someone and steals another car. Yeah, halfway through, Lori is babysitting. It's Halloween night, 1978. And she's got this like perfectly innocent little kid with her who's like, oh, can we watch popcorn and can we carve pumpkins and can we make pie? Can we watch a monster movie? And she's like, okay. And then there's this really cool little shot of Tommy Doyle looking out the window. and he sees someone standing in the front yard of the neighbor's house, which is where Laurie's friend is also babysitting a kid on Halloween, which is like, shouldn't these kids like be out trick-or-treating? Don't these teenagers want to go and get out and like get into some teenage 70s shit? But no, they're just, stuck at home babysitting these two boring ass kids. And oh yeah, and then Tommy Doyle looks out the window and he sees someone. He's like, is that the boogeyman? Because like earlier in the movie, these kids were bullying him for some reason. They're like, the boogeyman's gonna come get you, and he's like, no, he's not. The boogeyman's not real. And then for the whole rest of the movie, like those kids mentally scarred that little Tommy Doyle. For the rest of the movie, he's like, Laurie, is the boogeyman real? Is the boogeyman gonna come and get us? And she's like, maybe, no, probably not. And he just won't. He can't stop fixating on it for the whole rest of the movie. And then we go into the neighbor's house and see what Annie is up to. And she just, she's a little bit more of a free spirit. She's just kind of, doing her thing. And Michael Myers is like walking outside the house. He's watching her go from like room to room. And then she spills like tea or coffee or something on herself, and she has to go do laundry. So classic 70s, 80s slasher film. Like, you got to get the girl like undressed in her underwear for some reason. And then she goes out into the neighbor's shed, which is where their laundry machine is, which, like, is that just something they did in the 70s? Like, you have, like, a whole separate building for doing laundry. Like, my laundry machine is 10 feet behind me. I don't understand why you would need a whole other building for it. But, yeah, so she goes out to the laundry shed and starts doing her laundry, and then she locks herself in somehow, and then she gets stuck trying to escape. Like, she pins herself into this door or against a wall or something, and she's like, oh, I can't get out. And then luckily Laurie calls the house, and the girl that she's babysitting, who was left alone, by the way, like goes out to the laundry shed and frees her. She's like, what are you doing, you fucking idiot? You locked yourself in the laundry shed. Oh, and then there's this other cool shot where Annie is in the kitchen on the phone, and she's talking, and she's walking, like she's pacing back and forth across the room. She passes in front of the camera, and then in an open door behind her, Michael Myers is suddenly there, and you get the like 70s da-na-na-na type of thing.
You stuck in plenty of other positions.
My parents are gone.
And then she walks by again, and then he's gone. So it's really building the suspense. Especially, I picture this movie must have scared the... Hey, Zelda. This movie must have scared the shit out of people in the 70s. There weren't a whole lot of movies like this back then, I'm assuming. And you watch this movie, and I picture people go home that night, and they're like looking behind their back and looking in the windows and the open doors. It is really effective at making you feel like there's someone creeping around. And then Annie, the person she's talking to on the phone is like her boyfriend, I think. And he's like, hey, ditch that dumb kid that you're babysitting and come hang out with me. And she's like, okay. And so she brings the kid to the neighbor's house to where Laurie is. And she's just like, hey, watch my kid for me while I go get plowed. And she's like, oh, okay, fine. She just takes on double the workload, is not even getting paid extra for it. And then we follow Annie back to the house, and she goes out into the garage. She like gets in the car. And so Michael's already in the back seat, like waiting for her, and he just kind of grabs her throat and is trying to like choke her out with one hand, and she's like struggling, and her eyes are darting around like, and by today's standards, it's kind of goofy. Like, it almost kind of got a laugh out of me, but I can still kind of take it for what it was for its time. It's a very terrifying idea. And then even though he's like choking her with one hand, he pulls out a knife with the other one after like 30 seconds of strangling her, and just like slices her neck, and then she like falls over and dies in the car. And then we cut back to the two kids Laurie is babysitting, and they're just chilling watching a movie. And then Tommy Doyle goes up to the window, and he sees Michael carrying the girl's body into the house, and he just he loses his mind, which is fair, very fair. He just starts screaming and freaking out like, the boogeyman got her, the boogeyman got her. And Laura's like, there's no one out there, you fucking idiot. And he's like, he was there, I swear. And it's like, Laurie, like, you're not going to believe this kid who's having a panic attack. I know it's Halloween. There's probably other explanations, but like, she's just like, nah, I don't believe you. And then in the next scene, we cut to Loomis just kind of chilling outside of the Myers house, and these two kids come up, and then the one of the kids dares this other kid to go knock on the Myers door, and Dr. Loomis is just creeping behind a bush, and the kid goes up to the door, and Loomis is like, "Hey, little fuck, get away from there." He just scares the shit out of these kids.
Go in!
Hey? Hey, Lonnie, get your ass away from there.
Which maybe wasn't supposed to be as funny as I found it, but I enjoyed that. Like, Loomis is a fucking weirdo. And then the cop that Loomis is chilling with comes back, and Loomis goes off again. He's like, I swear we gotta find this guy. He is evil. Go find him. And he's like, I'm trying, dude. I'm trying. And he's like, try harder. Then we cut to, I think it's Linda and her boyfriend, like Laurie's friend from the beginning. It's Linda and her boyfriend driving up to the house that Annie just got murdered in. That something that bugged me was the boyfriend like picks up Linda and carries her into the house, and he just leaves his car door open. Like, I would never. So then they go into the house, they start macking on the couch, they're having a good time, and the camera pulls back, and Michael Myers is standing on the side of the frame, and he's just watching them. And you know, like, oh, okay, well, some shit's about to go down. And then Linda calls Laurie, and she's like, "Where's Annie?" And she's like, "Oh, she's gone. She'll be back in a little bit, though." And so then Linda immediately uses this opportunity to go bang in a stranger's bed. And then they're smoking in the bed after it, having a little post-coital cig. And, like, that shit's gonna stink. Like, that smell's gonna stick in the room. I don't think they're gonna do laundry. So they just leave it ransacked for, whenever the family comes back. And then immediately after, we get probably the kill from Halloween. The boyfriend, whose name I don't care about, goes down to get the girl a soda or something, and he goes down, he sees the back door is open, so he closes it, and then Michael Myers tackles him from the shadows, from the darkness, and then he lifts him up off the ground, one hand by the neck, lifts him off the ground, fucking jams a knife into his chest, and then he just lets go, and then the dude is just pinned to the wall, and then Michael does his little head tilt at it, he just looks at him like, oh, that did work. I can pin a guy to a wall with a knife. Good to know. And then right after that, he decides to get a little silly for some reason. Michael Myers in the early movies is kind of a little goofball. He's kind of a cutie in a way. He throws on this blanket and he puts on a pair of sunglasses for some reason, and he opens the door to the bedroom, and the girl's laying there with her titties all over the place, and he walks in and he just stands there. He's just meh. And she's like, come on, weirdo, where's my soda? Oh, it was a beer she wanted. So she's like, where's my beer? And she's like, all right, whatever. I'm calling Laurie to tell on you or whatever. And so she calls Laurie, and he sneaks up behind her, and then he chokes her out with a phone cord. And she's moaning and groaning on the phone. And Laurie's like, what's your deal, you fucking weirdo? And then she dies. And then Laurie's like, something fishy's going on here. So she decides to go check out what's going on in that house, and then she finds the hell house. She finds the whole shebang. Yeah, so first Laurie walks into the bedroom, and her friend is dead on the bed with the headstone set up in front of her for Judith Myers, and Michael set up this whole scene, and then he somehow set up her friend to as soon as Laurie approaches a door, her dead friend just starts swinging back and forth in the doorway upside down. And then she walks up next to this cabinet, and then the door swings open somehow. And then her other friend is dead in there, which, number one, horrifying. Number two, how did he do this? How did he lift the gravestone? Number one, how did he get it in his vehicle? How did he set it, bring it up into the bed without Tommy Doyle watching him the whole time, that little creepy is? And so she freaks out, obviously, and then she sees Michael, and he's coming after her. And now we got the first chase scene, going around the house, and Laurie's trying to open up doors that are all locked, and she's banging on him, and Michael's slowly falling behind her, just lumbering his way toward her. And then she like smashes this door open to try to get out while Michael is busting a door down. He doesn't even care. He's like, I'm going to get there eventually. Nothing is going to stand in my way, which, you know, got to respect the hustle. And then Laurie like finally escapes the house, and she goes out into the neighborhood and she starts banging on people's doors and no one helps her. I think in one part, like someone like flicks their lights on and then hears her screaming and then flicks the lights off. And it's like, fuck you, dude. It's so funny, but it's so mean. And then eventually she decides to lure the murderer back to the house with the 2 children in it. I don't know why she didn't book it down the street. And so again, yeah, horror movie characters don't know they're in horror movies, but why would you lure the murderer back to your house with 2 children inside? I don't know if she could just run down the street, maybe hope a cop car passes by, or like, I don't know what. Anything else besides luring the killer to the house. And then she's banging on the door. She's screaming. She's begging, screaming little Tommy Doyle, that piece of shit, to come let her in. And she gets back inside and she tries to call the cops. Awesome. Great first step to do when someone's after you trying to murder you. But he cut the phone lines. How does he know what a phone line is? How do you know how to cut it? And then he like makes his way inside and he's trying to stab her, but his you know, hand-eye coordination just not at its peak. You know, he misses a whole bunch. Laurie is a great final girl character because she is fighting back. She grabs a sewing needle or a knitting needle or something, jams it into his neck. He's like, I don't think he screams, but he's just like trying to get the needle out of his neck. And then he falls over and she's like, I did it. Nice. And then she runs upstairs to find the kids and she's like, we need to fucking leave. We gotta go now. And they're like, what's going on? And she's like, there's a maniac, there's a monster downstairs. The boogeyman is here. We gotta go. And as she's telling the kids that they gotta bail, he's just like climbing up the stairs, ready to get them. Then they freak out. They split up, which fair. And then she tries to misdirect Michael by like opening a window, but then she runs into the closet instead. Genius. Michael immediately sees through what she's trying to pull and goes up to the closet, which is one of those, like, it's got like a bunch of like little pieces of wood, like it's a slitted closet, which I feel like with what we've seen him do already so far, he should be able to like bust it down, but he's struggling. He can't get through a closet. He struggles so long that Laurie grabs like a coat hanger and like jimmies it enough to make a little pokey thing, stabs him in the eyeball. He drops his knife and she has the upper hand now. She starts stabbing. And then she tells the kids, like, run. Fucking run. Go run anywhere. Get the cops back here now. And they're like, okay. And they bail. And then Laurie's like sitting there like, ooh, okay. I finally got him. I'm safe. I'm safe and sound. Everything's gonna be fine. And then Michael does his iconic like sits back up. Fucking terrifying. And then he like he slowly, silently, perfectly silently lumbers his way over to her. She like walks away. He comes up behind her. He grabs her. He's trying to strangle her. Meanwhile, Dr. Loomis is still out and about in the town, and he sees these 2 kids losing their mind. And then he's got this fucking gun. He's got a gun. He's always carrying a gun. Every movie he's in, he's always got a gun on in his pocket. Yeah, he goes in, he sees Laurie getting strangled by Michael, and she like rips his mask off, and he lets go, and he's like, oh, I gotta keep my mask on. And then Laurie backs up. Loomis has his gun. He's like, bang, bang. He just shoots him 4 times. Michael's like, oh, and he falls backwards through a window, falls like 10 feet or something onto the ground. And they're like, we did it. And Laurie's like, was that the boogeyman? And he's like, yeah, it was. And then he looks back out. Michael's gone. So Laurie stabbed him in the neck, stabbed him in the gut. He took 4 bullets to the chest. He's fine. He falls out a window. He's fine. And just gets up. I picture, in my head, Michael like he looks up, sees that Loomis isn't looking at him, and he gets up and he fucking scrambles away like a gremlin. But no, we don't see that happen. And then it ends with this sweet sequence of, you know, shots all around the neighborhood, and it's playing the Halloween music, and you slowly hear Michael's breathing like get louder and louder. And then it just ends. Like, that's the end of the movie. And that's fucking awesome. And then in the credits of the movie, you know, it's got all the characters and the actors. And then for Michael Myers, it doesn't say Michael Myers, it just says The Shape, which is awesome. Played by Nick Castle. He did a good job, I think. Overall, you know, first time I watched it, had no idea what to expect going in. I was ready to take it exactly for what it was. And I still really like it. I try not to let my poisoned 2026 brain, I try not to let myself have a hard time watching movies like this. So I just watch them, take them for what they are, and I liked it. So as far as the ranking goes, easy number one spot. Nowhere else it could go, but it's going to stay there for a little while, I think. Just, you know, super solid movie, nice, slow burn. It didn't, you know, it's a short and sweet 90 minutes. Yeah, no fluff, no filler. It just has a story to tell, and then it tells it, which is super respectable. And I think that's just how the 70s were. I haven't really seen a whole lot of 70s movies, but it really just is. This is the story I want to tell. They don't bog it down with all this extra bullshit. If it's a slow burn, then it was on purpose. Yeah, I really like the way that Michael is sort of always around. He's always like just hanging out in the background, or you see him from a distance. I like that he doesn't say anything through the whole movie. I'm not sure he ever even makes a sound besides breathing. He's just sort of this looming presence that is like, there's a reason why he is as iconic as he is. And the mask, fucking terrifying. And final thoughts, final score on the movie, if we're doing this, I'd give it a solid like 7.5 or an 8, which is a very high score for me. Not many things hit an 8. Most things are like 5, 6, 7. I'm recording this in February. I'm pretty sure I'm going to watch this movie again in October when Halloween comes around. And I feel like I'll be able to appreciate it more for exactly what it is. That score is probably going to jump up, but for now, I'll give it an 8. Hey, Editor Mike here with a quick question. Did you know that only 0.2% of my lifetime viewers are subscribed to me? It's probably because I had one video go semi-viral and then no one cared enough to stick around. So if you've made it this far in the video, then maybe you'll think about subscribing and hitting that little bell icon so you don't miss the future parts of the series. And now, back to Halloween. All right, so next up we got Halloween 2, which came out 3 years later, and it takes place directly after the first one, which I really like. I feel like a lot of new movies don't really do that anymore. I can't really think of any other examples, but Karate Kid 1 leads right into Karate Kid 2, and Halloween 1 leads directly into Halloween 2. I really like that because if you decide to do a double feature or anything, it really feels like here's part 1, here's part 2. This is one long movie. You know, a lot of charm in that. I think it's the only movie really that does that, but you know, I like it. Good starting point. So it picks up right after Dr. Loomis, bang bang, shoots Michael. He falls out the window, and it kind of, in a way, undoes like some of the effect of the first one's ending. How the first one ends with the song and Michael's breathing and everything over shots of the neighborhood, which is meant to get you thinking like, he's still out there. He could be anywhere. Like he could be anywhere. But now we know where he is. You know, we're about to find out. So it kind of undoes that a little bit, but it's still a good lead in to the next one. And so Michael is out of the picture for now, and Dr. Loomis is helping Laurie, like, you know, get back on her feet. They get an ambulance in. Laurie gets put into a stretcher and brought to a hospital. And at the hospital, there's this like little kid who is oozing blood from his nose or mouth. He's holding a comically huge wad of rags up to his mouth, and he's just pouring blood. And his mom's like, "It's okay, sweetie." Like, I don't know if he swallowed a razor blade and a piece of candy or something, but like, kid's not doing so good. And then Laurie gets into the hospital, and she's like, no, you can't put me under. You can't put me to sleep. He's still coming after me. Which, fair. Dude, girl almost got murked 15 minutes ago, and they're trying to put her under so that they can, you know, I don't think she even got too messed up at the end of the last one. She had like a big slash on her arm and maybe a few slashes. I don't know why they'd have to put her under. Like, I don't know what medicine was like back then, but I'm pretty sure they had local anesthetic to stitch up her wounds, you know, but they're like, nah, we don't care. I don't care if you refuse this medicine. We're putting you down. under. We're putting you under. And so they're just like, night, night. Like, we'll see you in a few hours. And then we cut to Loomis, who is back on his mission, or well, still on his mission of trying to hunt down Michael. You know, he had him. Why not aim for the head? You know, that's another thing that I think a lot about when I'm watching horror movies and slasher films, you know, is like, shoot him in the head. But anyway, so Loomis is back on his mission with a cop, and they see this guy like walking down the street. He's got either the same mask or a similar mask to what Michael Myers was wearing, and the cop is like, is that him? He's like, I think so, let's go get him. And they're like, hey, you stop. And the dude doesn't stop, he just keeps walking, and then out of nowhere a cop car smashes into him, pins him against a van, and it explodes in a blaze of glory. It fucking explodes. They're just like, is it him? And he's like, I don't think so. And it's like, how does that even happen? How did the cops in this town get hired? It's Halloween night. They've got their sirens and their lights on, and they take down this random dude in the middle of the street. It comes out of nowhere too. It's so funny. And then we cut over to Michael Myers, who's like, we know where he is now, and he's you know, looking through the neighborhood. He's walking. No one knows what he just did. He's free to do what he wants, and he sees this old couple who I think is like watching a news report of what happened that night. Like, four teens, three teens murdered in a house in your town. And the old lady is, making a sandwich with a butcher knife, why? And she leaves it on the cutting board. She like leaves the room to watch the news report. And then when she goes back, she like blindly reaches and she can't find the knife. And she looks and there's like blood and she screams. And I'm really surprised he didn't kill those two people right there. In Halloween 2018, he would have rocked their shit. He would have destroyed them. But in this one, he's like, I need a new knife. I lost mine. You know, I need a new tool. And then we cut back to Laurie in the hospital, where we get to meet some of the hospital staff that we're going to be dealing with for the movie, including this paramedic guy who I don't remember his name. He's like sort of important, but not really. He doesn't really do a whole lot. But he's got a raging hard on for Laurie. He's always stopping into the room, even though the nurses are like, you can't be in here. And he's like, okay. But he keeps coming back. And to be fair, Laurie seems kind of into it. But like, she just survived the worst night of her life. Give her 5 minutes to breathe, dude. And then we see like the aftermath of the neighbor's house from the last movie, and bodies coming out in body bags. And there's a really sad scene where the chief of police or the sheriff or whoever, Annie's dad, you know, has his last moment with Annie and closes her eyes and stuff. And it's really sad. But also, I can't stop thinking about how in the beginning of the first movie, he's like, yeah, someone stole a mask and knives and rope. Probably a prank. And then his daughter dies. Like, take your job seriously, and then maybe shit doesn't, you know, maybe shit like that won't happen. It's just weird. And then we get this pretty sweet, like, no-cut tracking shot over the shoulder of Michael walking through town. Everyone's out for Halloween. I guess no one knows what happened, but he's just walking through town, and he's slowly working his way toward the hospital because he's like, I gotta finish the job I started. Zelda, why you keep coming in here, girl? And he's like, I gotta finish the job that I started. And then we see the worst security guard in the history of horror movie security guards. Maybe not the worst, but like he's sitting there with his monitors on the side and his he's reading a magazine, and Michael Myers like walks across this like back alley where I'm assuming no one is supposed to be, but this dude is completely unbothered. And then he gets distracted by a lady coming in, and then he's not doing his job. I guess it's not a very busy hospital as far as security goes, but good to know that he's in charge of, keeping us safe in there. And then we meet another paramedic guy who is a total tool. This guy is so annoying. He's got a crush on this other nurse girl who somehow has a crush on him. I don't know why. I guess, the 70s bad boy type where he swears a lot and he's just really aloof. But he's such an ass.
You don't have to swear, bud.
Well, she's a goddamn moron anyway.
Every other word you say is either hell or shit or damn.
He doesn't matter. He's just a prop for killing, and everyone's just telling him to shut up all the time and don't swear so much and why are you being such a tool. And he's like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to me. And then we cut back to Laurie in her hospital room, and she's just trying to rest. And then Jimmy, the paramedic guy, keeps coming in to bug her, and the nurse just has to keep saying, like, Jimmy, you gotta leave. And then we cut over to the security guard, who's like, hey, there's something wrong with the G diffuser or something like that. Hey, nurse, come help me with this. And he sits the nurse up with a walkie-talkie, and she's like, I need to be on the floor. Like, I can't just stand here and help you, fix your flux capacitor or whatever. And he's like, no, it'll be 2 minutes. You're fine. Just hold on. And he doesn't tell her how to use the walkie or anything, so she just on standby. I don't even remember why he needed her in the first place, but he goes out, gets his shit rocked by a cat living in a dumpster. Like, he falls into a bunch of garbage, and it's kind of funny. He's not made for this job, I think is what they're trying to say. And then he makes his way to like the storage room, or the storage, like the tool shed or whatever of the hospital. And someone has clearly rummaged through a bunch of stuff. And he tries talking to the girl on the walkie-talkie. He's like, hey, someone broke into the storage room. And she's like, you didn't tell me how to use this thing. I can't hear you. And he just continues on his business. Doesn't call for backup. He doesn't do anything. He just continues on, even though someone has clearly stolen like murder weapons. Serial killer on the loose in town. Maybe he's an unsung hero. Maybe he's just doing his best. Maybe he thought he could help. I don't know. And then he opens the door, and then he turns around, and Michael Myers is there. And then the camera cuts away back to the girl struggling to work the walkie-talkie, like she still hasn't figured it out. I feel like walkie-talkies should not be that hard to, figure out how to make them work. And she's like rotating knobs and flicking switches and messing everything up. I'm willing to bet he would have given it to her already working, but this dumbass nurse can't figure out to like hit the call button, and she's struggling while he's being murdered. And then we cut over to Loomis with a mortician or whatever and a cop, and they're looking at the charred, burnt body of that kid that got hit by the car earlier, and they're like scraping at his teeth or something to try to, I don't know how dental records work, but I don't think you're gonna get much by scraping his teeth. And then they're like, it's not him. It's like, okay. So I don't know if they got that kid murdered by like making him cross the street, but even if he didn't get hit by a car, Loomis was ready to shoot. He was ready to start blasting. So I think that kid was going to be dead either way. But now they're pretty sure that was not Michael Myers. And then Loomis is like talking with a cop back at the Myers house for whatever reason, and these two teens come up to them and they're like, hey, we're really worried about our friend Ben. He left like an hour ago and we haven't seen him since then. And it didn't fully click with me the first time, but they're asking about the person that got taken out by that cop car, which is a real bummer because he didn't do anything. I don't think. He was just walking down the street and got taken out. And now his friends are like, what's going on? Where is he? And then, yeah, right after that, we cut back to Laurie in the hospital, and she's like having an episode. She's passed the fuck out. She's having a dream of going into a mental hospital and seeing Michael Myers like turn to look at her. So I guess that's, well, how Michael at least became aware of her existence. But Laurie, I guess, like blocked it out or just never thought about it. But now she's having like flashbacks to, going to the hospital to meet him. And then we cut back to possibly my favorite scene of the movie. So there's this like scared nurse working alone in this dark hospital with a murderer on the loose and like stab victims coming in and burnt bodies and shit. And she's all alone. And then she gets scared by this, like the most unnerving like hospital call sound I've ever heard before. She goes to check on the room that the call was coming from, and her dumbass boyfriend, that like jerk paramedic, was like hiding in the bed to scare the shit out of her. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's just like, I'm just fooling around. Like, I'm just playing. He's like, hey, so you don't have anything better to do. You want to go into the hydrotherapy room? You want to sit in the hot tub for a little bit and get a little wild? And she's like, I can't. And he's like, please. And she's like, okay. So then they go to the hydrotherapy room, sit in the hot tub for a little bit. And they're macking on each other. She gets naked, of course, 80s horror movies. And Michael like sneaks in. I also like how in the first movie he targets Laurie's friends to get to Laurie, but in this one it's like anyone that's in his way, he's ready to take out. So yeah, he goes in, and like messes with the knobs on the water temperature and like heats it up too much, which makes the dude leave to go check on it. And while he's checking on it, Michael comes in and starts like strangling him in the background, which is a pretty cool shot. This girl is completely unaware. She hears the water bubble in, and right behind her like boyfriend or love affair is being killed. There's a lot more strangulation in these movies than I thought there would be. You know, going into these movies, I thought Halloween was dude in a mask with a butcher knife stabbing a bunch of people. But 4 out of the 6 kills so far or something were just strangulation. And then he goes into the water room, you know, goes in, he starts touching the girl, and she's like, oh, hey, back for seconds, huh? Like, you want to go out for breakfast tomorrow? And then she turns around and then sees like another really weird shot of the mask of this movie. Also, side note, the only thing I have on my notes for Halloween 2 is Michael is now played by Dick Warlock. Sweet name. Like, that is one of the coolest names I've ever heard. But yeah, so he goes in, she sees him, and then he grabs her and shoves her head into the hot tub, and he just keeps like bringing her up, putting her back down, bringing her up and putting her back down, and her face is getting more and more melted as he keeps doing it, which is disgusting but so cool. Like, it was what I wanted out of the first movie's kills. Like, after seeing this movie, the first movie's kills are pretty lackluster. Like, the coolest one is probably when he, like, you know, stabs the guy, pins him to a wall. But all the rest are just like, I'm gonna strangle you, stab you, strangle you with a telephone, weirdly stab my sister. But in this one, you got a strangulation, sure, but immediately followed up with I'm gonna simultaneously drown and melt this girl. Like, that's fucking awesome. I think it's because they had a bigger budget for this movie, and by this point I think other slasher films had come out, so they were trying harder to up the ante of the kills and the quality and the practical effects and everything. And the practical effects are disgusting. Like, when her face is melting, it looks raw, like gross. I gotta refill my wine. Oh yeah, and then there's a scene with like Loomis and a bunch of cops in a school, I think, and he sees like this drawing of a family with like a butcher knife stabbed into the sister of the family, and Samhain is written on the paper. Loomis pronounces it Samhain, but it's pronounced Samhain, Loomis, all right? And like Samhain is like the deity of Halloween, I think, like the god that Halloween was originally based on, like a god of death or a god of the underworld or something. I'll add a little blurb like here, you know, of what Samhain is. But it was a small mention in this movie, and then a main theme in the next movie. But I don't think they ever talk about Samhain again, which is kind of a bummer. And then Loomis gets pulled out of the classroom by this girl that he works with, I guess. And she's like, hey, you fucked up. They don't trust you with this case anymore. You got to go back to headquarters, or whatever she says. And he's like, well, I'm not doing that. And she's like, well, there's already a guy outside ready to bring you there. And he's like, okay. And then we cut back to Michael, who is actively in the hospital, finding a path to try to get to Laurie. And she like somehow knew that he was there, so she puts a bunch of pillows like in her bed and then bails. She just leaves, and he comes into the room and he rips the blankets off, and he's like, what? Like, how did she know? How did she do that? And so he starts hunting her, and she's running through the hospital trying to find a safe room. And like, in a hospital, there's a lot of places you can go, I'm assuming, to like not be murdered. So she goes to a random room. Meanwhile, he's in the hallways like looking for her. And then she starts talking to Jimmy in a doorway. And he's like, we need help. I'm going to go try to get some help. And she's like, okay. And then when he leaves, in the room that they're standing in front of, you see Michael's silhouette in the background, which is like beautiful. It's so good. Okay, no, so he doesn't go for help. The nurse goes out for help. So the nurse goes out and she's trying to turn her car on. And not only is the car not turning on, she gets out and the tire is flat. So he slashed everyone's tires in the parking lot. Like, genius, like 200 IQ move. What did he do to the car to make it not even start? Not only can they not start, the tires are slashed. If the car could start, I'm willing to drive on a shit tire. I'm gonna fuck up my axles, but I'm gonna get help. But they won't even turn on. So she's like, oh, what do I do? And then we cut back to Laurie, finally ready to leave the room, I guess. And the nurse is like, wait, Laurie. And she like slowly turns around just in time to see Michael. He lifts the nurse off the ground. Laurie's standing there like, oh fuck, he found me. And then she sprints away from him, whatever direction she can find. And she goes into like the boiler room or the storage, whatever. And she stumbles upon the guard, like dead in a corner. Michael killed the guard and then set up his body to be found later. He really wants to make a show of it. And then Laurie's like trying to find any exit she can. She like climbs through this little window, stumbles into a bunch of boxes, and she's trying to make as much space between them as she can. But he's got like perfect pathfinding, like in a video game. He's here, she's here. He's going to take whatever the best route is as slow as possible to find her. It makes for a good game of cat and mouse. He's going to get to you. Good luck. And then she finally finds like the hospital elevator, and she's in like, I think the basement, and she's like slamming the button to try to get it to come faster. We've all been there. And he's slowly making his way toward her. Which in the first movie, she's banging on the door to be let in, and he's making his way toward her. So she had a million other options, but right here, it's like, I need this elevator to get here now. And it does. And she gets into the elevator, hits the button once, and then she backs away. Like, I've been in a few elevators before. Like, you can hit the door close button, and it'll close, you know? So she just waits for it to do its thing. And so she hits the button, backs away, and then he just kind of like raises his knife, and he like pokes it in. He's just like, boop. Oh, that's not enough to close it. Okay. Or even like, you know, you do the hand thing, you put your hand in the elevator and it opens up. That would have been the end of the movie right there, but we can't have that. And then we get a bombshell of a lore drop. Okay. Something that the rest of the series kind of hinges on, and that a lot of people really do not like about the Halloween movies. So the lady that works with Loomis tells him, hey, there's a secret file about Michael Myers that you've never seen. You've been his doctor for 15 years. You've never seen this. We kept it from you. Michael actually had another sister that was in his reports, and she got adopted by the Strode family.
That girl, that Strode girl, that's Michael Myers' sister.
Huh? So it turns his inspiration from let me kill this perfect stranger to let me hunt down and kill the last of my bloodline. Even though in this version of the movies, his parents are still out there, I'm assuming. Like, he killed his sister, but as far as we know, his parents are still out there. They just move away. They just abandon that house and say, fuck it.
2 years after, his parents died and she was adopted by the Strodes.
But classic 80s sequel writing. Like, it's so unnecessary, but it's so important to the rest of the series. It's just so weird that that's the angle they took. I don't really hate it in this movie, but it does kind of irk me. The idea of giving Michael Myers more motivation isn't necessary. I'm fine with him just being a killing machine. So it would have been her adopted parents bringing her to the mental hospital, right? So did they tell her that she was adopted? And like, hey sweetie, hey adopted sweetie, we're gonna take you to meet your murderous brother in the mental hospital who hasn't talked in 10 years. Because he's clearly like a teenager in the shot. So it's really weird. And then she blocked it all out and then forgot about it. Like, just went on with her life, I guess. It's very strange. I think there was a scene earlier. I think the version I'm watching it's not the full cut. I'm watching it on YouTube as active note taking. But there's a scene where Jimmy, I think his name is, finds this nurse who has like an IV drip on her or something. All of her blood was drained onto the floor. And Jimmy's like, that's weird. And then he turns around to leave and he slips and falls smack flat on his back into the blood like a fucking baby, like a toddler. And he just lays there for a bit. And then after the chase scene with Laurie, she ends up hiding in Jimmy's car. And then Jimmy like stumbles in, you know, he's all shaken up and stuff and he can't do anything. And she's like, I'm fucked. Like, I can't do anything. But then right at that moment, Loomis and the cop show up to the hospital because they know what's going on. And Laurie gets out of the car, is only able to scream for help right after they get into the hospital when they can't hear her anymore. Help me! And it's like, dude, like, adrenaline is a hell of a drug. How are you not able to scream right now? Like, you're not in a nightmare. And then she's able to get up and get to the door, and Michael's chasing her. And she's like banging on the door, her classic move. And they finally let her in. And then Michael fucking just walks right into the door and like smashes the whole thing open. Which was so funny. Like I kind of audibly laughed at that point. Like it's so silly and simultaneously badass. Like it was so good. And then as soon as he bursts through the door, Loomis like bang bang shoots him down. He falls back. And then the dumbass cop is like going up to the body to like look at it. And Loomis is like, don't go near the body. He's not dead. He can't die. Don't go near it. And then the cop like crouches down and Loomis is like, what are you doing? And he's like, he's not breathing. I mean, what's the problem? And then whoop, you know, I'm dead. And then we get a really quick cat and mouse game with Loomis and Laurie running away from Michael. And they go into like a surgery room that looks like it's from the year like 1752, and they go in and Laurie like backs in the corner. Loomis is like, here, take this gun. And then Michael is like banging on the door, and then he smashes through this door. And like it's a surgery room. Aren't those doors made of metal? And they're cornered. They're like, shit. And then Laurie is like back crouched in the corner, and she's got the gun that Loomis gave her. Laurie fucking Hawkeye, what's his name? It's not McCree. You can't say McCree anymore. High Noon's Michael, bang bang, shoots both of his eye holes, like straight up shoots out both of his eyes, and he's like and he just like he can't see anything. At that point, why not run, like, or shoot him a few more times? I don't know, but they go hard while Michael is like blind, swinging his knife, hoping he gets a kill. Laurie and Loomis are like cranking the dials and all these ether tubes. So like they're in this room filling with ether. I thought they were gonna pass out. I thought they should have passed out, but they didn't. And then Laurie bails. She leaves the room, and then Loomis is like, it's time, Michael. And he flicks his lighter, and then poof, like fucking explodes. Whole room full of explosive gas. Poof. And Laurie's like, that's gotta be it. That's gotta be it, right? But no, Michael like stumbles out of the room like Gustavo Fring, covered in flames. He's walking out, and I'm like, oh shit. And then he falls down. That's how he dies in this movie. It was a good send-off. And then it cuts to everyone, you know, cops and ambulances at the hospital, and Laurie's getting wheeled out to another ambulance the same night. Try another hospital, I guess. And then Mr. Sandman starts playing, and then the movie ends. Pretty solid, I think. So overall, Halloween 2, pretty dang good, I gotta say. Like, pretty solid. Great follow-up to the first one. I feel like the first one really did a lot better with how Michael stalks his victims, which is kind of what the first movie is more about. Whereas this movie is about him trying to finish the job and killing anyone that gets in his way. So I guess the stalking doesn't matter as much, but it's still something that the first one did a lot better. But yeah, solid follow-up. Just a lot of good chase scenes. The kills were a lot better in this one. The mask did look a little more funky than the first movie. I feel like it doesn't detract from the main potency of how much you enjoy the movie. You know, if I was to rank it... Okay, I'm going to do something crazy here. Number one spot is Halloween 1 and 2. I feel like they're both really good movies. By the end of the list, I'm going to solidify one of them into number one. But for right now, like, just a great duology. If you're looking at it as one full story, like how part 2 picks up right where part 1 left off. Great duology. Hey, Editor Mike here one more time. While I was making this video, I realized that I'm sinking a lot of time into it, and my channel is not making money right now. So I made a Patreon. There's a link in the description that'll take you right to it. I have tiers starting at $1, which will get your name read out at the end of videos. You'll also be able to vote on future video topics after I'm done with this Halloween mini-series. And I have another tier at $3, which will give you early access to future videos, as well as uncensored videos, extended cuts, behind the scenes, and probably other stuff as I realize what I should add to the Patreon. And now, back to Halloween. All right, so now it's time for Halloween 3. Halloween 3 is a weird one to talk about because it's really not a Halloween movie. Apparently, they wanted to make a sequel to Halloween 1, so they picked it up right where the first one left off, and then it's Michael Myers trying to finish the job. But After that, it seemed like they were ready for him burning to death to be the end of his story. And then Halloween 3 was going to be its own thing. They wanted to turn Halloween 3 into an anthology. They wanted to turn Halloween 3 into an anthology series where each movie would be a new Halloween idea, which makes a lot of sense because if they had 10 movies in the Halloween series, the first 2 are Michael Myers, and then maybe 3 is its own thing, and then 4 is its own thing. I feel like that would have been really cool. But they didn't do that. They bailed right after Halloween 3 because it didn't do that well. Because I don't think they made it clear enough what they were going for when they were making the movie. Okay, well, let me talk about the movie first. So Halloween 3 is about this whole new guy, Dr. something. Dr. Sexy, what's his name? Yeah, so Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, follows Dr. Chalice, and he's a great old doctor, and he starts getting blasted with advertisements for these new Halloween masks. And he's a divorced dad, and he goes to his wife's house and he's like, hey kids, I got you these sweet new Halloween masks. And his wife is like, oh, you're trying to buy their love? And the kids are like, well, mom already got us Halloween masks. This gift sucks. And they put on the masks and then start watching the advertisement for the masks, which is playing like every 15 minutes. Like clockwork. Like they're playing that ad constantly through the whole movie, which is painfully catchy. 2 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock. I hate it. Yeah, I really don't want to dwell too much on Halloween 3 because it really is just the black sheep of the movies. Michael Myers isn't even in it, or besides a cute little quick reference.
The immortal classic, followed by the big giveaway,
which I thought was kind of cool. But I picture people in 1981 coming into the theaters. They're like, let's go see the new Halloween movie. And then you're sitting there waiting for Michael Myers to show up, and he just never does. Like, he's not in the movie. Instead, it's about Dr. Chalice trying to figure out the story of where these masks are coming from because it's connected to a patient that came into the hospital. This guy got killed by this fucking man in a suit, and he comes into the hospital holding a mask, and he's like, they're all gonna kill us, they're coming to get me. And the doctor's like, what are you talking about? And then the doctor slowly gets more and more invested in it, and then the guy that got murdered's daughter reaches out to the doctor, and she's like, I need your help to figure out like where these masks are coming from. Come on a road trip with me. And he's like, okay, I'm invested enough, I'm curious, you're an attractive lady, let's go figure this out. And they drive out to this like cult town where the masks are being produced, and they get a hotel room and they pose as husband and wife, and they start banging as husband and wife do. They're committed to the role, I think is what it was, and they're trying to figure out what's going on with the masks. And then the doctor meets with this homeless guy who's like, this mask business is bad, I'm gonna burn that factory down. But Big Brother was listening to him the whole time. So 5 minutes later, these guys in suits come up and I think straight up rip his head off of his body, which is pretty cool. The effects in this movie were pretty good. And then some more stuff happens. And then this lady that's in the motel with the doctor and his mistress is coming to the town to like restock on masks for her shop, I think. And she's really upset that the masks aren't that good of quality. Like they have this little pin, this little thing on the mask that like fell right off. And she's like, I can't have that. I need good quality shit masks for my child. At some point in the movie, she's like looking at the little thing that fell off, and she's like picking at it with a bobby pin or something. And then it lasers her face off of her face. Like it shoots a laser straight through her head, which caught me so off guard. And then a bunch of bugs start crawling out of her carcass. It's nasty, but the effects were really charming. I don't watch a lot of older movies that use practical effects, so seeing this was really like just a fun watch. And then the next morning, she's getting wheeled out to an ambulance, and the doctor's like, hey, I'm a doctor, I can help, I can look. They're like, oh, she's gonna go get the best care that money can buy, don't you worry about it. And he's like, I think I want to worry about it. And then he goes on like a Willy Wonka ass tour of the mask factory, and the lead mask maker is really shady. He won't let them into the fizzy lifting drink room. He's just very, very dismissive of them learning too much. And then what happens from there? And then at some point, the mistress who the whole movie I was thinking she looks just like Kristen Milioti. At some point she gets kidnapped, and then the doctor decides to go to the factory that the masks are being made at to really dig in, because he's pretty sure that something fucky is going on here. And then he's like solid snaking his way around the factory, and he gets caught by one of the guys in, one of the man in the suits, you know, one of the suit mans, and punches a hole through the chest of the dude, and then he reaches his hand out and it's covered in this yellow goop, and then he realizes that all the man in suits are robots made by this guy. Like, it's such a wild plot, especially if you're expecting Michael Myers to come in and start stabbing at some point. It's so wild. Because earlier in the movie, it said that, like, oh, Dr. Willy Wonka, you know, he made all these prank gadgets, these prank toys that you can, like, mess with your friends with. And that was the setup for it. Like, he was a toy maker and a prank toy maker. He was a toy maker, the Willy Wonka of destruction. And then he gets kidnapped by Dr. Cochran, and Dr. Cochran is like showing him around, I guess, because he learned too much, and he's doing the classic villain thing of, well, I may as well tell you my whole plan. Why not? And then while Willy Wonka is showing the doctor the facility, he shows a piece of Stonehenge that they stole from England, I guess. They stole a piece of Stonehenge and they were chipping off bits of it, and then he makes the doctor watch like a live footage of this other family that was there touring the facility. He makes the doctor watch a video of them in like this motel room, and they give the kid a mask, and the kid puts on the mask, and then he starts watching that annoying ass commercial. And then his head like gets crushed and melted, and then bugs start pouring out of him like the lady in the hotel room. And it was so disgusting, but it was so cool. Blown away by the practical effects for this movie. It was something else. And then after the doctor watches the video of the kid being murdered, he gets put into a room with a mask on and a TV on. So he knows that any minute now that commercial is going to start playing and I'm going to die. So he pulls some James Bond ass shit and escapes the room. He covers up the camera. Oh, you know, he does a perfect throw of the mask onto the camera to cover it. And then he gets up, he breaks out of the chair, he climbs out through the air vents or something. And then he finds his way to where his new girlfriend was kidnapped and put into a room. And then they get out into the main room. And then, oh, what does he do? What does he do? Oh, shit, I gotta find the video now. He does something so stupid. Oh my god, is it on Netflix? Ah, of course it's not on Netflix. No, I don't want to rent the movie for $4, dude. Are you on Tubi? No, you're not even on Tubi. Why is it so hard to find any of these movies? God damn, dude. I should just buy all these movies and put it as a tax write-off. This is ridiculous. Shudder? Do I have to pay for Shudder? Oh my god. I'm so lucky that Halloween 2 was on YouTube. Dailymotion's good enough. Oh yeah, and then before the doctor is put into the room, Dr. Willy Wonka is telling him his whole like evil villain plan, and it's so funny. Like, they bring back the whole Samhain thing, like the god of Halloween, and the doctor basically says, Stonehenge has magical properties. We stole a rock from Stonehenge and then put bits of it into each of the Halloween masks that we're selling so that they can be activated like sleeper agents when this Halloween commercial plays, and that will kill everyone. And he's like, why? And then he goes, it's the ultimate prank. Like, he's only doing it because he thinks it's funny, I think. It's the ultimate prank. I'm going to kill all these kids. Like, it's so funny. And it's just such a good motivation for a nonsense villain. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, anyway, so then the doctor escapes, rescues his girlfriend. They drop like a swarm of bees or something like that onto all the scientists working in the main room, and they all die. I'm pretty sure he puts a mask on the doctor and makes him watch the commercial, and then the doctor dies. and his girlfriend leave the facility, and they're like, we did it, awesome. And then I think the commercial starts playing on the radio, which activates his girlfriend to like go evil, and she starts attacking him and crashes their car, and he has to kill the girl. He like chops her arm off, and I think he chops her head off, and then the arm is still like active. He cuts off her arm and it's still active, trying to strangle him. And I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to pull an arm off of your neck, a loose arm, but he is struggling. And then he just kills her and bails. He just leaves. And then he starts calling like all the police stations and TV stations and everything, and he's like, like, you can't play this commercial, it's gonna kill everybody. And they're like, nice try, dude. And he's like, no, seriously, believe me. And they're like, nice try. And then he convinces them, and they turn off, I guess there's like 6 channels playing the commercial, and he's able to get 3 of them turned off or something, but not the other 3. So he's at this like gas station with this guy. He lets these like kids come in to watch TV, and they've got the masks on, right? And then the doctor is on the phone like, you gotta cancel every commercial, like, don't play this. But the commercials won't stop, and they keep playing, and then it just ends. Like, no payoff. Like, you get to imagine what happened after this, which is awesome. I feel like I said I wouldn't spend too much time on this movie, and here I am. And they leave a lot to the imagination of like, okay, did they turn it off in time, or did several of the ads keep playing because it just cuts off? And I like to imagine that it just kept playing. Like, it just killed millions of kids. Don't take that out of context. That's where I like to think that the movie ended. It was a pretty good, not really twist ending, but like a shocking ending where you're just not sure what happened, which is a pretty great way to end a movie like that, where you don't know anything. No one knew anything going into this movie. Everyone thought they were going to see Michael Myers stabbing people, but instead it's this whole conspiracy plot of this Dr. Willy Wonka trying to murder children. But yeah, this movie didn't do so good in the box office. Like, it really did not do very well, which I totally see why, because the movie comes out, the first batch of people go to watch it, word spreads, they're like, Michael Myers isn't even in this movie, that movie sucked, and then it did bad, and then they canceled their whole anthology plan. But looking back now in 2026, it's still very worth watching. It's still a really good movie. It would just be so much better if it didn't have the Halloween 3 Season of the Witch title. I just need to make it clearly known that it is a really good movie. Great practical effects. I came to, enjoy and like the characters a good bit. It was kind of a bummer seeing Kristen Miliotti's mom turn into a robot, but that's just what it is. Still a really good movie, good watch, but it's just not Michael Myers, so it's hard to rank alongside the other Halloween movies. But firm number 2 right now. I've been recording for like 3 hours, and I've only gone through the first 3 movies. This is going to take a while, but I'm enjoying it so far. I hope it turns out good. Hey, Editor Mike here, one more time. At this point in the video, it becomes pretty clear that I was recording into the night, and the lighting gets really bad. I did my best to fix it in post, but it's pretty clear that the green screen is not as good, and the video in general I think will be a little darker. My next video will have better lighting, but I just wanted to call out this bit of unprofessionalism. And back to the video. Oh, number 4, please work, please. Oh no. Son of a bitch. Oh my god, is it on YouTube? Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God, dude. All right, and from that divergence of plot, we'll move straight into Halloween 4. So, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. We are back to the Michael Myers story for the series, which that's what we're here for, right? So it starts off with 2 people coming to a new mental institute to like transfer Michael Myers again. Yeah, how has that worked in the past, guys? So they come in, and the security guard is like, dude, that guy you're about to transfer, he's a fucking maniac. He killed a bunch of people a decade ago, and his doctor, of all people, shot him 6 times, lit him on fire. Dude's still alive. good luck with that. Like, I don't know how you could be any less supportive with people coming to transfer a patient. And we get to see like a quick shot of Michael Myers' hand, like, you know, draped over a table and burnt to a crisp, but he's still, you know, he's still alive and kicking. I don't know why they haven't killed this motherfucker yet. I don't know how the death penalty worked back then, but I feel like it's fair. This guy killed at least, what, like 10 people or so between the first two movies? And they're just like, yeah, let's keep him alive. Let's see how the shit turns out. So they load him up into an ambulance, and the two EMTs working there, a guy and a girl, one of them is like, did they say anything about living relatives? And the other one is like, yeah, he's got a niece living in his hometown. But, you know, she's a kid. She can't handle, you know, she can't take care of this guy. Next of kin doesn't matter in this situation. As soon as they say that he has a niece, Michael starts like squirming a little bit, like he's like getting reawakened. I'm assuming he was just like in stasis after he burned to death. No talking, no emoting or anything. He just laying there letting doctors keep him alive. And then as soon as he hears that he has a niece, he starts waking up and he starts bashing the dude's head on the inside of the ambulance wall. And then he shoves a thumb straight into the guy's skull. He shoves his thumb right into his skull, and the guy's screaming and breaks his head open. And then we just cut to this little girl who is the main character of the movie, and she's like, looks like she's praying, but she's like looking out a window, and she's like looking at an ambulance. And then her sister comes out, and she's like, what are you doing? And she's like, do you love me like a sister? And she's like, we're not real sisters, but I guess. And she's like, it's so late, you got to go to bed. So she sends her sister, quote unquote, to her bedroom. And then she goes into this like shoebox that she has with photos of her mom, which we find out is Laurie Strode, who they killed off in between part 2 and part 4. They killed her off. No explanation, I don't think. No reason given. But she's got a whole bunch of pictures of her mom, and she's looking at them like, oh, wish I wasn't an orphan, you know, like just dreaming of better days or a better life. That poor kid. And then it turns out that like Michael Myers was in her room somehow and like hunting her, like hiding in the closet, playing with the door. And then he's under her bed and pulls her underneath. And then she escapes. And then when she's trying to escape, we get a shot of how the mask looks in this movie. It is so not good. It's so bad. It's so ugly and weird. It looks like a $5 Temu mask version of the Michael Myers mask. Like, it looks so bad. And that's the mask for the whole movie. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. It is so bland and ironically shapeless. There's no definition to any part of the face. The eyebrows are tweaked. What do you call it? It looks like the mask is wearing a wig. Like, it just looks so awkward. It's so weird. And we have to deal with this, I think, for the next 2 or 3 movies. But then it turns out to all be a dream, and her sister comforts her. And this kid's going through some shit is what we're getting so far. And then we cut to the family that Laurie's niece was adopted into, and the parents are telling Rachel, the older sister, hey, you need to babysit your sister this weekend. And she's like, I need to hang out with my boyfriend this weekend. Like, I can't imagine anything else. And then she starts saying like, my future, my family, my children, your grandchildren, they're all gone now because I need to babysit.
But now my future relationship, my engagement, my marriage, my children, and your grandchildren have all been wiped out because I have to babysit.
And then the niece walks in, Jamie, and she's like, I'm sorry you hate me so much. She runs away. It's kind of funny. And then Jamie runs up to her room, and she's, you know, having a bad time. And then Rachel comes in and makes her feel better. And she's like, I don't really hate you. You know, how about we have a good time this weekend? And Jamie's like, okay. And they're petting a dog. And I know Michael Myers loves to kill dogs. And I was like, please don't kill this dog. This dog is adorable. And then we cut to Dr. Loomis, who somehow survived the explosion from number 2. I don't know how. He just has like a little like burn mark on his face, and that's it. He was in the room with Michael Myers, who, mind you, walked out engulfed in flame. And then we cut to a few years later. Dr. Loomis just has a little burn mark. And he's like, yeah, nothing can kill me. I'm Dr. Loomis. And then I think Loomis like forgot what part of his face got burned, because he's telling this doctor he's talking to, like, look at my face. But he's pointing to the wrong side, which was kind of weird. But he's talking to this doctor about like, oh, this patient was going to get transferred. You know who you're dealing with, right? This is no ordinary patient. Like, we need to be on the lookout. And then he escaped anyway. And the doctor's like, whatever. And then they get a call that Michael Myers, surprise, surprise, escaped. And they go to this ambulance, crashed into a little pond off of a bridge. And Dr. Loomis is like, I've seen this all before. And he walks in and he sees the wreckage inside. And he's like, oh. And then we cut to Dr. Loomis pulling up to a gas station. And like everyone's already dead. Like Michael has already been there, and he walks in, he's assessing the situation, and he's got this cool standoff with Michael where he's like looking at him through a doorway, and he's trying to talk to him, but Michael, obviously Michael's not going to say shit, and he's like, God damn it, Michael, bang, bang.
God damn you.
But Michael was already gone by the time the bullets are hitting the door, which makes me think that Michael straight up has teleportation abilities. Like, he can just blip out of existence. They need to study that more than the psychology of Michael Myers. They got to study the teleportation. And then Dr. Loomis like goes outside, and Michael stole a truck and he's driving away, and Loomis is trying to like shoot at it, and Michael explodes the gas pump and I think ruins Dr. Loomis's car, and he burns down a telephone pole in the process. And Loomis is just shit out of luck. How am I going to get to Haddonfield from here? And then after that, we see Jamie in school. This scene bugged me so much the first time I saw it. Jamie is the cutest little girl, and you cut to her in school, and these kids are tormenting her. And they're like, ha, you're an orphan. Your mom's dead. Your uncle's a serial killer. Sucks to be you. They are tormenting her. And it's so frustrating that these little shits just start attacking her like that. And Jamie starts crying, and then Rachel picks her up, and then things are good. Things are fine. Who cares what happened at school? You got Rachel. Rachel's great. And then Jamie decides that she does want to do Halloween after not wanting to do Halloween. So Rachel takes her to like a CVS pharmacy or a Walgreens that has a selection of Halloween masks for some reason. And Rachel's talking to her boyfriend about, what they're going to do tonight. Oh. And Jamie's off alone looking at masks. And then she has a vision of Michael Myers attacking her. And she screams. And Rachel freaks out. And they break a mirror. And they tear up the store. And then nothing happens. There's no consequences for that. And then there's like a scene. There's a little snippet where you can see like a hand reaching down to the shitty Michael Myers mask. Like, Michael just needs a mask. It doesn't have to be good. He just wants a mask to start killing in. And so Jamie freaks out, and then they're like, let's get you out of here, sweetie. And they leave. They just leave the store with broken glass and shit everywhere. They don't care. And then we cut back to Dr. Loomis, who is hitchhiking back to Haddonfield. He's like, oh, I'm a helpless old man. Please help me. This group of teenagers pull over, and they're like, hop in, old man. And then he starts wobbling toward them, and they just book it and leave. And it's just so funny because he's trying his best, but these pieces of shit teens, like, in that moment, I think he was thinking, I hope Michael targets you next. It's kind of funny though. And then Loomis ends up getting picked up by this like weird alcoholic preacher that's just spewing all sorts of weird shit at him.
What are you hunting, Mr. Sam?
Apocalypse, end of the world, Armageddon. It's always got a face and a name. Oh, you're a pilgrim, all right. I saw it on your face back there in the dust. I saw it clear as breasts and blue suede shoes. Would you like a drink?
And then he's like, hey, you want a drink? Dr. Loomis is like, yeah, I need a drink, please. That's how he gets back home, I guess. And then we cut back to Rachel and Jamie, and she's like, hey, you ready for Halloween? And she's like, I think so. And they go. And Michael was already in the house when Jamie was getting ready for Halloween. and he breaks into her room and he's like looking through her shoebox of photographs, and then he sees a picture of Lori, and he's like, oh, I got her. I got the last of my bloodline. And then we cut over to Rachel and Jamie going trick-or-treating, and they go up to this house, and then she meets the girl that was working at the CVS that like everyone's trying to hook up with, and then she sees her boyfriend walking down the stairs. It's like, dude got canceled on once and immediately hooked up with his coworker. Like, this is a trash man. And they get into a fight, and then Jamie goes off with a bunch of other trick-or-treaters while Rachel is like trying to deal with her life falling apart, her future, her children, her grandchildren. And then after she says fuck you, she goes to find Jamie, and they get separated on Halloween night when her uncle is trying to murder her. So they're reasonably freaking out. And then we get to see like a bar full of people that are really concerned that Michael Myers has returned to town, and they immediately suit up ready to go murder this guy, which is pretty damn cool. And then meanwhile, Michael Myers is messing with this electrician at the city's power grid or whatever, and Michael doesn't fuck around. He takes the guy, chucks him onto the transformer, and blows out the power for the whole town. Next level move. Like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna send another electrician to go get murdered? And then Rachel has a really quick encounter with Michael in a dark alley, and she books it. She's fine. And she finds Jamie, and Rachel is like, why would you leave me like that? Why wouldn't you just stand there while I argue with my boyfriend? Don't ever go off alone ever again. And then we cut back to Dr. Loomis and the cop trying to find Michael Myers. And there's this really weird scene where they're like about to get into their car, and then Michael Myers shows up off to the side, and Dr. Loomis is like, hey, I'm going to shoot you. And then another Michael Myers shows up, and then another one, and then another one, and they're cornered by people dressed as Michael Myers. And as a viewer, I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, where are we going with this? And then it turns out that it was all a prank, bro. One dude rips off his mask and he's like, oh, don't shoot. We were just fucking with you. Like, dude, how ballsy do you have to be to pose as a serial killer in front of a murderous psychologist and a cop? If they were any less hesitant, then you'd be full of holes right now. Like, I don't understand why they thought that would be a good Halloween prank. Loomis and the cop go back to the police station, and they find out Michael already got there. Like, he already killed like the entire police force, apparently. A building full of people with guns and batons and shit, and he just killed like a good chunk of them. And so they're like, how about we gather who we have left? We're gonna hole up in this house, and we're gonna make a bastion of safety from Michael. We're gonna make sure we get through this night safely. We're gonna be fine. But meanwhile, Michael Myers was already in the back seat of a cop car going to the house, so he knows exactly where they are and what they're doing. And then we cut to the bar folk trying to keep the town safe, and it's a bunch of rednecks with shotguns and rifles ready to shoot anything on sight. And this one guy is like, hey, I think I see him. And they see a tiny bit of movement in the bush, and they fucking unload on him for like 30 seconds, like a straight minute even. They're just unloading on this random movement. After they're done unloading, they go up to the body and they're like, it was just my neighbor.
Shit, Earl. It's Ted Hollister.
You dumb son of a bitch.
And one of the guys is like, why did you tell us to shoot? It's like, dude, you were ready. You unloaded on him for a full minute. What do you mean he told you to? It was so over the top. It was so funny. And then we move on over to Jimmy trying to get his dick wet with the sheriff's daughter, I think. And as soon as they're about to do the deed, all these cops show up to the house and they all pile in. They're like, we need to use this as a safe house. You guys need to stop whatever debauchery you're up to. And he's like, okay. So Rachel and Jamie are there, a whole bunch of cops. Dr. Loomis is there. The cop talks to Jimmy. Wait, no, Jimmy's from number 2. What's his name? Did I call him Jimmy already? They go up to the boyfriend and they're like, hey, you know how to use a gun? And he's like, I think so. And he's like, good, here you go. And he gives him a shotgun or a rifle. And then Jamie and Rachel are up in a bedroom and Rachel's like helping Jamie cope with her uncle trying to murder her. So Rachel's in a pretty tricky situation here, I think. And then the new girl, the CVS Walgreens girl is like trying to make a cup of tea. And then she's like, why did you sleep with my boyfriend? And she's like, why did you cancel on him tonight? Making it Rachel's fault for the fact that she fucked this girl's boyfriend. And it's just so silly. Like, it's not a good argument, girl. What are you talking about? And then we get to meet all the cops that are hanging out in the building while Rachel is having the worst night of her life, trying to protect her adopted baby sister from getting murdered while her boyfriend is cheating on her in the next room over. It's fucking rough. And then for like no reason, Dr. Loomis just leaves. Like, this was his plan to have everyone together in one house as a safe house to protect Jamie from Michael. And then he just fucking leaves. He's like, oh, I'm going to Jamie's house. That's where Michael is going. And it's like, there's no one there right now. Why are you leaving right now? Like, you have a safe house. You have a bastion. Everyone needs to stick together. And you're leaving because you have an idea that Michael's going to be there. And then what? You're going to deal with Michael on your own? And then this other cop is like, let the state police handle it. And then Loomis is like, they don't know how to handle it. I'm the only one that knows how to handle it. I'm going to leave. Like, you clearly don't know what you're doing. And so he leaves. And then Rachel like leaves Jamie's bedside for some reason. It was kind of weird because like, you're going to abandon your little sister who's terrified of getting murdered. You're just going to leave to go like chat up someone or talk to your cheating boyfriend or whatever she's doing. And then we find out that Michael was already in the house. Like, he was there. And then the cheating girl, the Walgreens girl, is like, she made tea for everybody. She's talking to the cop, and then she lights a candle that illuminates a dead cop's face. And then we realize that Michael Myers was sitting in the cop's position the whole time. It's like just rocking in the rocking chair with a shotgun. And then she realizes like, oh no, I'm not safe here. And then Michael Myers stands up, points the gun at her. And so I saw the Halloween sequel trilogy first, the 2018 trilogy, right? I'm pretty sure there's a line in that movie where someone turns up shot and someone else says Michael Myers doesn't use guns. And so then in this movie, Michael stands up with the gun and I'm like, Michael Myers doesn't use guns. And I was like, what's going to happen here? And instead of shooting her, he rams the gun into her and impales her through a wall. Like, that's fucking awesome. Like, I don't think Michael Myers shoots a gun in the whole series. Whenever he's holding a gun, it's so he can impale a girl with it. Like, I thought that was so cool. So she's dead. The Walgreens girl is dead. And then Rachel finds the dead body and she goes to check on Jamie. Jamie's not in bed anymore. You left her alone. How dare you? And then she runs downstairs and finds her boyfriend. And the boyfriend still has the rifle or the shotgun that the girl's dad gave her. And then he's like, don't worry, I'll get us out of this house, because they're locked in with Michael Myers. And he bang, bang, shoots the door twice. And he's like, oh, it's not working. So they run upstairs. And Jamie comes out of another room. And then Rachel's like, oh, Jamie, thank God. And then the boyfriend sees Michael Myers climbing up the stairs toward him. And he's like, don't worry, I got this. And then he aims, shoots. The gun is empty. It can only hold 2 bullets or 2 shells or whatever. And he's like, oh, let me stand still and reload while Michael is like going up the stairs about to kill him. He's like, let me do the slowest reload animation of all time to shoot at him again. And by the time he's done reloading, Michael is already there ready to stab him. That's another one of those moments where I'm like, why are you so stupid in this movie? Like, he could have been backing up while reloading. You can reload and walk up the stairs while he's screaming at them to run away.
Get up there, Rachel!
And he's just standing there. And then Michael finally makes his way up to him. And then he starts wrestling with Michael over the gun when, like, get some distance. You have a gun. You have a shotgun. Make some distance. Shoot him, bang, bang from there. You know, and then he dies, whatever. And then Jamie and Rachel, like, make their way up to the attic. And then they break their way out onto the roof. And then there's a part where Rachel is like, Jamie, get on my shoulders. Let me climb through this jagged, broken window. Like, one hiccup, one wrong movement, like Jamie's getting sliced by the glass shards in there. Like, thank God they're not using real glass, because Jamie would be dead. And then they make their way up to the roof, and Michael is still following them. Obviously, the roof was a good idea. It was all that they could really do. Rachel makes like this weird jerry-rig zip line harness for Jamie to get down, and then Michael's attacking her while they're trying to get down. Rachel fucking down off the roof, like she's done. You could survive a fall like that, but probably dealing with a broken back, I would think. And then so Jamie finds Rachel like handicapped at the bottom of the house, and she's freaking out. And then Michael shows up, and so she runs away, and then she runs into Dr. Loomis, who again left for no reason. He just came back for no reason. And Jamie runs into him, and he's like, "Where's the school?"
No, you can't. I've just been there. That's the first place he looked for you. Where's the schoolhouse?
And I'm like, what are you talking about? Why is that the goal? Why are you trying to work your way there? And they break into a school. The alarm is going off the whole time. And then Michael Myers straight up teleports into the school, takes out Loomis, and then Jamie's alone in the school trying to open every single door, which all of them are locked for whatever reason. She can't do anything, so she's fucked. But then, all of a sudden, Rachel recovered from her broken spine and sprays Michael Myers with a fire extinguisher. That keeps him down long enough for them to get away, I guess. And then they leave the school. They meet up with the rednecks that were trying to, protect the town, right? Remember that subplot? They get into their truck and they leave town. Like, they fucking bail. Good call. And then you've got a guy driving. You've got Jamie and Rachel in the passenger seat. And you have 3 rednecks in the back with guns, right? And they're driving down. They pass a bunch of cops. And the cops are like, "Are you guys good?" And they're like, "Yeah, we got the 2 girls that are in danger. We're leaving." And they're like, "Okay, cool. We're going that way." And then the truck keeps driving. And then Michael Myers is on the truck already? Somehow, like, he was like underneath the truck and then spidered his way up and around. It doesn't make any sense. And he's somehow silently killing each of the guys in the back without anyone else noticing. One by one, he's killing them. No one knows a thing. And then eventually it's to the point where Rachel is in the driver's seat staring down Michael Myers in his dumbass mask and plows him down, like boots him through a fence. You'd figure they'd have him by now. I don't know why she wouldn't, like, he was just standing there. Like, give him a little nudge and then run over his head with the truck. Like, what are you doing? And then after they boot him through a fence, there's this scene that bugs me so much. She boots him through the fence. A whole bunch of cops show up with rifles. Then they start, like, drilling holes into Michael. But for some reason, the director, the cinematographer, there's a stick right in the middle of the shot, right overlapping Michael while he's taking all these bullets. And that stick is in the way the whole time. And they cut away and they cut back multiple times, and that stick is always there. It's covering way too much of the screen. Like, bro, go in with a hammer, knock that stick out, redo the take. What are you doing? And then and then they shoot up Michael with a whole bunch of bullets, and he falls down a hole, and then they're like, that's good enough. And then they just leave. Dr. Loomis has been talking to us for a decade about how this man can't die. He took multiple bullets and stab wounds and a full body incineration. No. We shot him a bunch. He fell down a hole. He's done. And then we go back to Jamie's house, and things are looking good. Michael is in a hole. And then we cut to a POV shot. And then we cut to Dr. Loomis, who looks up the stairs, and he starts freaking out because we got Jamie at the top of the stairs, the same outfit that Michael Myers was wearing at the beginning of the first movie, and a bloody knife in her hand. And then the movie just ends. Like, it just ends right there. The shock of me seeing Jamie as the knife wielder there was pretty effective. That is a solid shot to end the movie on, of the niece as Michael, fulfilling the prophecy, continuing on the cycle of violence. And there was a moment too where, like, when Michael was dying, right before all the cops started blasting, Jamie like touches him for a minute, and then everyone's like, no, get away from there. So with knowledge of the future movies, it makes sense that maybe some of Michael's evil like passed on to Jamie or something, and that's what made her kill her mom. Even if you disregard that, like, the idea of, like, this girl was fucked up, like, she had been tortured by kids at school, tortured by the idea of my uncle's a serial killer, I'm gonna follow in his footsteps. Like, it really was a great bookend. They undo it in the next movie, but that's besides the point. So yeah, Halloween 4, pretty good, I would say. Even regarding the fact that the Michael Myers mask looked pretty fucking bad, it's still a good movie. Not as good as 1 or 2. As a follow-up, as an 80s sequel of, like, how do we keep this franchise going, I think it's a pretty good follow-up. I also think there were a lot of funny moments, because this is where the Halloween franchise kind of started to lose its way. I think the group of rednecks hunting Michael Myers down was kind of funny. Michael ramming the gun through that girl was pretty sweet. Michael slowly murdering the dumbass who didn't think to reload and move at the same time, that was kind of weak. Didn't really like that. I'm glad he died. He was a piece of garbage. So overall, Halloween 1 and 2 are still number 1. Halloween 4 is number 2. Halloween 3 is number 3. Yeah, that feels right. I reserve the right to change the ranking as this video continues, I think. Yeah. I'm too drunk to keep going. I can't do Halloween 5 right now. I also got to make sure Halloween 3 and 4 looked good on the camera. So hi, Future Mike. How you doing? Bet you looking sexy, bro. Bet you looking sexy at that fucking computer editing. Yeah, I don't know. Bye.